Evolution Power Tools sent a cameraman and producer down to my house on 2 separate occasions to film a short feature to go on Evolution Power Tools TV. Now they've actually published that on Evolution Power Tools TV now, but they've given me the footage so that I can edit my own version and put it on my own channel so that you guys can have a look at it. I hope you like this. As I say, I never filmed it, Evolution did, but I've edited it. And I must say, it's so much easier when someone else is doing the filming. So I really enjoyed working with Evolution, and it was a really pleasant experience. I hope you enjoy this. My name's Russell Platten. I'm a retired offshore oil worker. And I also have a YouTube channel called Russell Platten. My YouTube channel is a little bit of a mishmash of everything, and a lot of that is to do with woodwork. And as you can see, I'm quite into woodwork. I make furniture, trinkets, ornaments, that type of thing. I first got into woodworking in the mid-80s. I moved from a bedsit into a 3-bedroom semi-detached house, and naturally we had no furniture. A friend of mine said to me, why don't you make your own? I couldn't afford to buy any. And he took me to see a guy that made his own furniture, and I thought to myself, yeah, I'm pretty sure I could do that. So I scraped up enough money to buy a table saw, a jigsaw. I already had a drill, and I started making furniture. And it wasn't long before I realised that I was going to need a lathe, because if you're just making things in the square, it's a bit boring. I wanted to actually start making spindles. On the way to work one afternoon, I stopped by a second-hand tool store, and the guy was selling a lathe for £20. Now it was a wreck, but it was a lathe. So I decided to buy it, and there were bits missing. Luckily my father worked in an engineering workshop, and he made me a tool rest and found me a motor. I bought some wood turning tools, went to the library, borrowed a book, and I learned how to wood turn. And the first piece of furniture that I made, serious furniture, was a 3-piece suite. This was part of a 3-piece suite. This is a single chair, there was another single chair, and there was a double chair as well. So I needed to make 12 of these spindles, and when you start wood turning, the more of a thing that you make that's the same, it gets easier and easier. So I found myself actually turning these out fairly quickly. I did them in a day, I think, making the legs. Then I got hold of some wood from a local wood yard, and I made the frames with some mortise chisels. So these are mortise and tenoned in. And so I started off with this basic square, and then I thought, well, how am I going to put the back in? So it was a bit rough, it's all screwed and glued, but I screwed and glued these sides in, and these were actually cut out with a jigsaw. And I kind of wanted to give it a feature, so I made this decorative top. And when it was finished, I actually thought, that is not a bad piece of furniture. The only problem was it's the most uncomfortable 3-piece suite you're ever going to sit on. I did make some cushions for it. I actually sewed some cushions, and when I actually put it together, well, I cannot tell you what it felt like. I actually ended up with a 3-piece suite that was made out of bits of wood, and it was all to do with these. Now I can't work with hand tools, I've got to have power tools, but it's a fabulous feeling when you can actually take some wood and make something that is not only useful but decorative. And you know, 35 years later, I've still got this chair. We don't use it anymore, but it's got a lot of sentimental value to me. A few years ago, my wife saw a piece of furniture. It was in a brochure, and she said she really liked it. So I had a look at the photograph. I've still got the photograph in there somewhere. And I said, oh, well, I can make you one of those. And it's a little wine rack. The one that she saw was made of oak. So I decided to make one out of pine, and I don't work to plans. If my wife says she wants something, I'll just look at it and think, yes, I'm going to make it like this, and I'll get an idea in my head, work out the dimensions, and then put it together. And this was put together using a biscuit jointer that I had just got. It was a really cheap biscuit jointer, but it did the job, and this is one of my favourite pieces of furniture. I really like this, and normally it's got wine in there, but I didn't want to smash the bottles when I was bringing it out. So when I found out that I was going to be doing this, I decided I was going to make a picture frame, because I've made a lot of these over the years. They're very simple to make, and to make them you need a mitre saw, and this R255 SMS is perfect for that. In fact, this is the saw that I use all the time for mitre cutting and square cutting. All you need to do is cut the frames to size, make sure the bottom one is an inch bigger than the top one, or whatever you decide the size you want it to be, and then just glue one on top of the other, and you end up with a picture frame with a rebate. What I'm going to do now is actually demonstrate cutting this. So I've got to set the mitre 45 degrees. There we go, clamp it. So this is a Rage 5S. Now I've got a cabinet maker's saw, so I don't use this very often. But when I first got this saw to review, I took it on my narrow boat and I did some cabinet work in there and it proved invaluable. Now this type of saw, it's portable, you can move it around really easy, and the fact that it can just spool around on its own wheels makes it perfect for when you're doing work out and about. So what I'm going to do now is just demonstrate this. So I'm going to cut this down the middle and then I'll do a cross cut and I'll just show you how it operates. So the last thing I'm going to demonstrate with this Rage 5S is a cross cut, and it's got a sliding carriage. Now a sliding carriage on a table saw like this is a brilliant feature. And all I'm going to do is just demonstrate a cross cut. I've got this set at 90 degrees to the blade and I'm just going to cut it straight across. So here we go. It doesn't get any better than that, does it? It's so easy. So as well as woodwork, I also dabble a bit in metalwork. And this obelisk is made out of rebar. My wife asked me if I could make something so we could put a climbing rose inside. Obviously it's not grown yet. And it's basically just rebar that's cut to size, welded together with a finial on the top. I bought that from eBay, I think it was. And I used the Evolution Rage 4 saw to cut that. And it was really quick. It makes life a lot easier when you've got something that can cut metal quickly. And basically I've got 4 of these now in the garden and the wife is really pleased with them. This is the Evolution Rage 4 saw that I used for cutting the rebar. Put some rebar in it now. I'm going to demonstrate how easily this saw cuts rebar. So it comes out of the saw ready to use. It's not hot at all because there's no friction there. It cuts very easily, nice square edge. You can work with that straight away. And this saw is an absolutely smashing piece of equipment for anybody that wants to dabble in a little bit of metalwork. Woodwork for me is something that takes me away from all the humdrum stuff and I end up with something really nice, hopefully if I've done my job properly at the end of it. Here are 2 Easter Island heads moai. The big one was actually carved out of oak from the garden. The small one was made with wood from a tree that we cut down in a friend's garden a few years ago. And they're both carved with hand tools, a little bit of sanding. The 5-pointed star is a Christmas decoration and this was done entirely on the Rage 255 SMS. So I cut all the angles out, glued it together. Then we've got 2 goblets. One was made from a tree that we cut down years ago in my friend's garden, and the other one is made from oak from my own garden. And you know, once you get reasonable at lathe work, making goblets and fine things gets pretty easy. It's not too difficult once you've got a bit of practicing. Thank you for watching this feature on me and my projects. What you can't see on this video is just how pleasant and professional the Evolution team were. They were a real pleasure to work with. I enjoyed having them round. It was a lot easier being stood behind the camera without having to do any camera work, and they really did make me feel at ease. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching and please take care. Oh, remember that you can go to Evolution Power Tools TV, it's episode 3, and you can see their version of this video on there.